let's say the pitches and the breakout rooms now, and invite you to Martin Kahanec. Martin Kahanec is director from the Central European, no, from CELSI. He's also the dean of the Central European University of Budapest, but now in Vienna. So he's an economist, and we know him for a long time because we team up a lot. On top, he knows a lot about migration. What Martin will do is wrap up what we have been discussing and give his views. Note, he's an academic, so he will not come with the final solutions because he will have it in balance. But that is what academics do. Martin will take 7 to 8 minutes, more or less. And then we close with cool questions for the future. And when we start our new webinar. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Pauline. Do you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good, very good. Thank you very much, Pauline. Congratulations. This has been a fantastic event, and it's spot on, a very important topic. If you just read into it, you understand the complexities, the challenges for the global labor issues. This is really something that will be affecting the global economy very much. And all the participants and Wage Indicator, congratulations, really good discussion. Now, let me just start some kind of overview how I see the broader context of this, and then some specific trade-offs, which are the challenges for the future, and how I think what kind of policies, what kind of approaches we may be thinking about. Now, first point. We don't have sufficient data, but we know from many sources that platform labor is to a large extent in some sectors and spaces even primarily immigrant labor. So platform work and platform economy and immigration are very much interrelated, and that may mean migrants who are physically moving, or this kind of telemigration. I'll talk about it in a few moments. This comes with a range of very specific issues that really urgently call for the attention of all stakeholders, because they'll be affecting the livelihoods of very many people in sending countries and in receiving countries. We need to understand what are the real challenges, how the nature of platform employment, the regulation of the platform economy, migration and immigration policies, how they affect migrants' opportunities and challenges in the segmented labor markets in the host countries, why we see so many migrants in that segment, and also how sending countries will be affected. Now, from the policy perspective, this is a complex landscape or ecosystem we are talking about, because platform economy is on the one hand a space where we can be honest to ourselves. There is some degradation of labor and employment going on. There are some challenges for labor, for working standards, etc. But also there are opportunities for workers, and then these two perspectives meet in platform economy. To be more precise, on the one hand, platform work is sometimes loosely regulated, in some aspects very heavily regulated. Frequently, labor is underprotected. Usually, minimum working standards are not guaranteed, including minimum living wages, relatively low income security, and some segments may expose workers to high risk of discrimination. In other segments, actually, discrimination is not so much present. Safety standards, health standards, etc., and it's often rather a trap than a stepping stone for career advancement. On the other hand, platform work can be an opportunity to access labor market precisely for people with disabilities, with vulnerabilities, migrants, elderly, ethnic minorities, and platform technologies can also compensate some of those disadvantages that those workers have, overcome language barriers, avoid discrimination, and make it easier, make it an entry point for migrants to some gainful employment. And moreover, a further complexity is that some of these pros and cons are actually decisions of actors in in the platform economy. For example, platforms are selectively formalized. Certain parts of the platform economy, certain management practices are formalized, whereas labor is often disempowered by under-formalized arrangements. And again, this is a trade-off because under-formalization and looser regulation actually often offers advantages precisely to the type of workers we're talking about, migrant workers, because there is a low threshold entry into the labor market, enabling migrants to have some source of income. Well, discrimination does not spare platform workers, but in some segments, in some kind of platform work, it's lesser than informal employment. And so this may be an opportunity for migrants to avoid discrimination prevalent in the labor market. Lack of formalization also means that immigrants in less regular situation, lacking documents, may be able to enter the labor market in spite of their irregular status or lacking documents. Platforms may help to overcome language requirements, language barriers, and that it may be more flexible forms of employment, which may be particularly attractive for migrants. So from another perspective, and so far I've been talking mainly about migrants who are physically moving, but what we also observe is a relatively not so new phenomenon, but now it's growing certainly. It's globalization 4.0. You see virtual migrants, telemigrants, digital nomads, you can call it different ways. But what this implies is that there is coupling of work and geography and space. Digitalization enables telework, telecommuting to go really global. And that's where I think the wage indicator is so important, and the global approach to these topics is so important, because we are now, the labor market is really globalizing. And on the one hand, telemigration will partly substitute traditional migration. It's likely that some people will not need to migrate to their jobs. They will rather work remotely, but it may also spur additional migration flows by providing the financial means for potential migrants in the families, information, reducing some barriers to physical migration. So it's hard to say whether telemigration will overall result in more geographic migration, physical migration, or less. Telemigration or telemobility of labor and the resulting global arbitrage of wages in teleservices can potentially increase the wheels of the global economy. People will use their talent and their skills where they're most useful. So this will be beneficial for the global economy. This will empower millions in less advanced economies who will be able to work remotely in more advanced economies and earn more. And this is likely to reduce global inequalities. But the challenge is that within those source countries, especially, inequalities may increase, because only those who are able to work in those sectors, who have the digital skills, will be able to succeed in the kind of telework arrangements. There is one side effect which may be very important for the sending countries, and this is the potential for brain gain. People who will be observing the situation, they will realize that these digital skills are needed, that they can be rewarded, and so they will invest in those digital skills, and there will be potential gain. The flip side of this, and this is very important for the debate as well, is that the service sectors in those respective those sectors where telemigration will be prevalent or will be frequent, is that will be changing those services and that segment of the labor market in the receiving countries, and the local labor markets may not be able to keep pace with the globalization trends. Such globalization will increase the relative scarcity of soft skills, empathy, creativity in dealing with unknown situations, because those things cannot be offered through telework, telemigration. And we know very well that our educational systems are not adequately responding to these future needs. So, so for the receiving countries, this will be important to understand that investment in this kind of training will become very important. And coming to conclusions, so far there is, and this is also very important that Wedge Indicator is doing, that we are raising awareness of these issues, and we're putting people, smart people together, stakeholders together, including those present today, that these are important issues which will be opportunities and challenges for the sending and for the receiving countries. And if we work together, we can find solutions and find ways forward which will be mutually beneficial, because there is a potential for win-win situations here, clearly. Otherwise, the changes may be abrupt and societies will not be able to adapt to them, and backlashes in various forms may be expected. Very briefly, so that I don't take too much of your time, what shall be done, what could be done? There are some kind of, I hear this from everywhere, reclassification of platform workers as employees, which is necessary, but certainly not sufficient. Not sufficient because the problem of precarity is not only relevant for migrant workers in those sectors. It's also a broader issue of concerning all workers. We need to upgrade representation and engagement of platform workers, including migrants, in unions, labor market institutions, proper social and welfare integration of these workers, especially immigrant workers in platform economy. What is necessary as well is reducing barriers to formal employment for migrants and non-platform employment, so that they are not put in situations where in very precarious, difficult situations in the economy. Platforms can be also used to increase the transparency of the labor market, and their algorithms play a crucial role. They need to be transparent, and equal treatment of workers needs to be ensured, monitored, and enforced. And telemigration, well, there are arguments for more regulation. Then there is a notion of, well, it's already quite regulated. But what is necessary is that in the receiving countries, we get ready for this. We facilitate adjustment. We upskill the labor force for the new world, and we understand how telemigration can be actually create win-win situations for the sending and receiving countries. In all this, global focus, global approaches, and we need to anticipate future trends, collect data, and this is again where Wedge Indicator is super cool because it's collecting data globally, collecting data, analyzing data, and enabling policymakers to go ahead with evidence-informed policies. And last but not least, engaging all stakeholders. We need to put these are relatively new phenomena. We have different experiences around the globe, and engaging all stakeholders, that is necessary so that we create global adjustment to these new challenges, because as I try to illustrate, there are important trade-offs, and we can get the things right and create win-win situations, but that requires a global approach, and an approach where trust is built, and where we try to address the challenges from the global perspective. Thank you very, very much, and thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, Martin Kahanec. Thanks